which is famous for two things. My great-grandfather built it, and as a child I lived in it, so you got it twice for famous. Now we're going to start the program, and I'm going to introduce you to the Master of Ceremonies for today, and that is Mr. Andrew Ingram.
Thank you, George. Let's get better. This is energy, high energy. We're from the Bahamas, and all we know is energy. Did you like Junkanoo? Yeah! Way to go. You know, this is going to be another cultural treasure to Miami. Bahamians have done so much. And when I look at all the folks that are here, let me say first thank you to our luminaries, our pioneers. You're going to hear from them a little bit later. Thank you for all you've done. Ms. Gibson, Dr. Fields, Dr. Pinkney, you have set the stage. You've left the breadcrumbs for us to follow. We will follow. With that in mind, to get started, I'm going to introduce a lot of folks. We're going to take our time, but before we go any further, what has been the foundation of the Bahamas is our religion. I'm going to ask Dr. Bobby Rector, Reverend Rector, Dr. Bobby Knowles, to come with the invocation. Reverend?
Yes, thank you so much. He never gets it right. It's just Reverend Bobby Knowles. Let's get that right.
I'm Roman Catholic.
Oh, you're Roman Catholic.
Hold on one second.
Oh.
Hold on. When we start the show, we have a showstopper. Hold on. Please stand and welcome the Honorable Congresswoman Frederica.
Yeah. He said he was Catholic. I'm Anglican or Episcopalian. I know that there's quite a bit of us in here because I see at least 3 Episcopal priests are in here, and maybe more, but I'm sure about 3 of us because we all are wearing our collars. And so when we begin prayer, we always say, the Lord be with you, and your responses and also with you. So please join me. The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Gracious and eternal Father, as we come before your presence to give you thanks, to give you thanks, to give you thanks and praise for this day. This has been a long day in coming, many, many years in the working. And Father, we thank you for the pioneers. We thank you for our ancestors. We thank you for those who have gone on before us to make this possible. Thank you so much for all Bahamians and all those who are Bahamian descent, that at this day and at this time, we can call this little Bahamas. Dear God, we just ask your blessings upon these events. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Remain standing, please, for the Bahamian National Anthem. Please stay standing for the American. Please be seated.
Nobody was sitting this time.
Good afternoon again. I would be remiss if I did not talk about a lady with vision. As a young man, when I came to the United States in Washington District in my father's restaurant, Congresswoman Frederica Wilson was always there. What we see today is a culmination of her efforts and many others, but she had vision from the school board. She didn't teach me in school because I went to school someplace else. But she is one of those individuals, anytime you want anything, you can call her. Congresswoman, please acknowledge Congresswoman Frederica Wilson. And she's planning another event that we're all going to support. But let me introduce, and you'll hear from these folks a little bit later, let me introduce our ambassador to the United States, His Excellency Wendell Jones. Consul General to Miami, my good friend, Kirk Hollingsworth. Commissioner Ken Russell. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Reyes. There's so many people here that made this possible, but I believe we all have the same goal, and that is to ensure, just like Dr. Fields and Dr. Pinckney and Mrs. Thelma Gibson, to ensure that the Bahamas continues to live on. So help me in welcoming to the stage, guess we're not on the stage, to the platform, a good friend from 8 Mile Rock, Reuben Roberts, who's going to give us a little history of the Bahamas. Reuben?
So I'll pardon you because you forgot the right location. I'm from the east.
From the east or west?
The east end. No. I'm from the east. Yeah, it's the east. So I'm from no, I'm from High Rock.
High Rock. 8 Mile High Rock.
No. I'm from High Rock. So I just want you to just get that correct the next time. And I was expecting to hear you sing the national anthem. Oh.
I just signed a new singing contract. The rest of my voice.
The east and the west.
Oh yeah, the east and the west.
Right.
That's right.
Where are you from? East rock, west rock.
Yeah, but Tarpon Bay is always the place to be. Anyhow.
What an honor to be here before you, and thank you all for coming out today. I'm going to be a brief history of the Bahamas. As you know, the Bahamas is an island nation of over 700 islands and keys. And so I want you guys to understand that. And also understand the influence that Bahamians had in this country. Primarily right here. Right here. This land that we stand on, and if you would look around the radius, about a 5-mile radius, was owned by a Bahamian man, Mr. Sterling. This is his family right here. So I want to make sure that you guys are aware of that. Even the most experienced explorers have gotten lost in our abundant natural beauty for centuries. Our islands captivated settlers, traders, and invaders, while our shipping channels enchanted pirates who quickly discovered all of our great hiding places. To this day, there are still tales of treasures. However, the real treasure is our people. Bahamians may live for today, but we never forget our past. In the early parts, in the 300s and 400s AD, as early as 300 AD, people who came from what is now known as Cuba, it was not called Cuba then, lived on the islands of the Bahamas and relied on the ocean for food. From around 900 to 1500 AD, the Lucayan people settled here. They enjoyed a peaceful way of life and had developed a viable political, social, and religious system. In 1492, Christopher Columbus made landfall. He did not discover Bahamas, all right? He made landfall, all right? All right? The Arawaks, the Caribbean, everybody was already there. So I just wanted to make that clear. New World on the island of San Salvador, inspired by the surrounding shallow sea, he described them as the islands of Bahamas. That name sounds familiar, right? Bahamas, shallow sea, which has become the islands of the Bahamas. When he arrived, there was about 40,000 Lucayans. Their peaceful nature made the Lucayans easy targets for enslavement. However, within 25 years, all of the Lucayans were wiped out due to the disease, hardships, and slavery. In 1649, English Puritans, known as the Lutherans, Lutheran adventurers, arrived here search of religious freedom. Instead, they found food shortages. Captain William Sale traveled to American colonies for help and received supplies from the Massachusetts Bay Colony. Upon his return, the settlers thanked them by sending a varicella wood. The proceeds helped purchase the land for what later became Harvard University. Bahamians been given for a long time. I want you all to know that. During the late 1600s to the early 1700s, many privateers and pirates came here, the most famous one being Blackbeard or Anne Calico Jack. There were also female pirates like Annie Boney and Mary Read, disguised as men. Our shallow waters and 700 islands made it great hiding places for treasure, and our close proximity to well-traveled shipping lanes made for a perfect spot to steal from merchant ships. There are rumors of hidden treasures that still exist today. It is believed that the British pirate William Cat buried loot on Cat Island, and Sir Henry Morgan, a wealthy privateer, buried treasures throughout our island nation. Let me fast forward. I see Andy's giving me that look. All right. So, let me see how far I'm going to fast forward. All right. So, from 1861 to 1865, the island of the Bahamas benefited greatly from the U.S. Civil War. Britain's textile industry depended on southern cotton. However, the Union blocked British ships from reaching southern ports. So blockade runners from Charleston and met British ships here in the Bahamas and traded cotton for British goods. Upon their return, they sold their shipment for huge profits. The end of the Civil War marked the end of prosperity. In 1919, the United States passed the 18th Amendment prohibiting alcohol. The colonial government expanded Prince George Wharf in Nassau, accommodating the flow of alcohol. When Prohibition ended in 1934, so did the enormous revenues, combined with the collapse of the sponge harvesting industry in the economically devastated Bahamas. The Hotel and Steamship Service Act in 1898 opened the doors to the world. This act provided the government support needed for construction of hotels and subsidized services. Since then, everything from Prohibition, bringing well-to-do Americans to closure of Cuba, to Americas has impacted tourism in our country. On July 10, 1973, the Bahamas became a free and sovereign country, ending 325 years of British rule. However, the Bahamas is a member of the Commonwealth of Nations, and we celebrate July 10th as Bahamian Independence Day. There goes a reading of our history, abbreviated reading of our history. And thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ruben. Got a little treat for you. This is where I from. Basil, you know about that. See Basil Sancho there, man. You know where I from. Anybody know what that means? Where I from? I meet my good friend Gary Allen. Where I from? Come on, Gary.
It's kind of warm out here, huh? So, the name of this poem is called, or this spoken word piece is called Where I From. You know, on the program it says Where I From, but in the Bahamas we say where you from? So, I've been thinking about this, where I'm from, you know, and I was watching this program about the Indians, and these boarding houses, and how they just beat these people's culture out of them. I heard the term cultural genocide for the first time. And it's like we're always in danger of losing our culture. I came here when I was a little boy to live with my aunt, and the kids used to pick at me and tease at me and call me Nassau, and they told my aunt, they say your mommy don't wear no drawers, and y'all climb trees like monkey, and then you grow it just coming over here and having to go through all of that. It can really mess with your identity, and you always try to assimilate and try to fit in. But I'm saying, don't fit in. Be proud of your culture and where you from. Be proud of your culture and where you from. Stop causing yourself unnecessary stress. So the name of this spoken word piece, of course, is Where Are You From? I'm going to tell y'all where I from. Because when you know where I from, you're going to know a little better about me. I from them Lucayans, loyalists, free mind and slaves, buccaneer pirates, rum runners in caves, Lemon City and unmarked graves. I's a Bahamian, born and raised. I from that goatskin drum, cowbell, junkanoo, and cocoa plum, raking, scraping cake with rum, calypso music, 700 islands under the sun. We pledge to be one where I from. I from that brown skin gal, gap tooth smile, family aisle, Nassau butter, firstborn son of my mother. I from Curtis Island Sands, march on Bahama land. I from Mine Enid, Indiana, Natalie Green. I from jolly old England, that British queen. I from that F&M and that PLP, Linden, Pinland, Sun in that sea. I from Bush Medicine, Sarah C, English tea, Gnep and Sappadilly. I from guava and soursop, sugar apples, spinning tops, shooting marbles, hopscotch, bow and arrow and slingshots. I from that horse and carriage, man got sweetheart when he married. I from them outside children, look like your pa, right round the corner, they ain't far. I from that 242 area code, Jickney left hand side of the road, bullfrog dressed up in soldier clothes, Nassau gone funky, Nassau got soul. I from that black gold, aqua blue, I from that do a nanny, how you do? I from sandy beaches, blue skies, crystal waters, Bahamian pride. I like Dirty's chicken in the bag. I from Obiaman and Marianne, all day, all night, sipping sand. I from that Bay Street, straw work, money never done. I from them fort ships and where the tourists come. I from Carmichael Road, Bamboo Town, calypso music and steel drum sounds. I from conch salad, conch fritter, Sarah C tastes bitter, crack conch, stew fish, pigeon peas with every dish, man. Slime bomb and bread, bunk bed, peasy head, pot cake, potato bread, guava duff, coconut tart and Benny cake, fire engine, fried down onion with tomato paste. I from that ball fish and grits, Johnny cake, tamarind switch, suck your teeth, slap side your lip, raise strict, home of the cut hip, roll your eye, you must see one die. I from colonial rule, uniforms in schools, South Beach pools, teacher carry belt in schools, cuss, but there's wash your mouth with soap. I from them jumper churches and Holy Ghosts, curry chicken and curry goat. One time I got sick on the mail boat. I from Sugar Cane, Gary Bain, Jockey Fame. I from where people know you by your last name. I from cross that water, over town, the Keys and the Grove. Washboard, migrant workers, cooks and wood stoves. Rock pit, ditches, hard work and railroads. I from bushwhacking, coconut cracking, crocus sacking, but I ain't slacking. I from grubbing, clearing line. I good with machete and working with my bare hands. I from them dressmakers, house servants, caretakers, chambermaids, washerwomen and salt rakers, blacksmiths, seamstress, gardeners and troublemakers. I from them British subject and conky joes, outhouse, hole your nose, dirt road and potholes. We from lime make switcher, vegetable fields, laborers and fruit pickers. Bahamians ain't never been no bootlickers. I from them doctors, lawyers, musicians, and teachers, educators, composers, landowners, politicians, and preachers. I from Ronnie Butler, that Bahamian ting. I from that brown-skinned girl in the ring. Tra-la-la-la-la, brown-skinned girl in the ring. Anybody else know that? And she looked like a sugar in a plum, plum, plum. That's where I from.
Thank you, Gary. What a great slice of Bahamian. I should acknowledge my good friend, Commissioner Audrey Edmondson, former County Commissioner Edmondson of Bahamian. Commissioner Russell, Commissioner Reyes, and say a few words. Thank you for the support of this effort. Please join us up here.
Anthony, you start, please.
Let me tell you this. I'm very happy. I love history, and history should be preserved. And when Commissioner Russell started talking about naming a little Bahama, I said, we got to do that. And we got to do it because we have to preserve the significant contribution with their hard work, with all the people that came here and settled in this area from Bahamas, and what they were the ones that started building Miami. Miami without Bahamians would end up being Miami. So it was very deserving to have this piece of history preserved, just as it was necessary to bring Goombay back. You see? And I spoke with Commissioner Russell. I said, I'm going to present legislation to bring it back. I said, you do it, and I am going to co-sponsor. So as I co-sponsor Little Bahama. So it is very, very, I would say, well-deserved that there is a piece of Bahamas in Miami that everybody is going to recognize. And congratulations, you deserve this and more. This and more. Okay. Commissioner Russell.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. This is a very special day. Now, we get to name Little Bahamas, but a name is just words, and words without works is nothing. And we got a lot of work to do.
Go ahead, yes.
Russell's a good Bahamian name, isn't it?
Are there any Reyes in Bahama? No, they're not Reyes, but they're kings.
You're gonna make one.
Okay, Reyes.
Make one.
My father was Luther Jackson Russell, and he took me to the Bahamas when I was very young. And he taught me to dive for conch. And he taught me the lesson, when you hop off the boat and you go down, grabbing the conch is just half the job. You got to get it back to the surface. I remember I was 7 years old, and he's pointing me down 30 feet. Go get that one. And I got to the bottom, and I felt great. And then I'm on my way, kicking back up. And you can see the surface 10, 15 feet away, but you're out of hair. And so you start kicking harder and harder. You got to get up, and you don't want to let go of the conch. If you let go of the conch, you can make it to the top just like that. But then you ain't having conch salad tonight. So I kick really hard and get up, and then you get that breath of air at the top. You all know the feeling, right? My father's now passed, and his ashes are spread in the Bahamas, and I go every year to visit him, pour out a kalik in his honor, and think about him. But as I finish my term on the city commission, my second term, and hope to serve someday with Congresswoman Wilson at the federal level, I've got 6 months left on the city commission, and we got a lot of work to do. Because words without works, a name, if we name this Little Bahamas, but there are no Bahamians left in this community, we have not done our job.
Yeah, right up.
So, in these few months left, I see the surface, and we're going to be kicking real hard because we got work to do with the zoning that will mandate affordable housing on all new construction that comes to Little Bahamas of Coconut Grove. On the preservation of existing houses, the preservation of the last remaining shotgun homes, to make sure that people that live here now, the greatest black home ownership in the city of Miami remains here in Little Bahamas of Coconut Grove. So we got some hard kicking to do, Commissioner, but we're going to make it to the surface and we're going to lift that conch high and we are going to celebrate together.
I want to see you. I want to see you. You said that you part Bahamian.
I didn't say that.
But, hey, listen. Did you watch him when Junkanoo was playing? He ain't got the moves.
Thank you all so much who helped make this happen. I just wrote the legislation. He voted with me, but we could not have done it without Congresswoman Wilson helping bring the entire community together with the NAACP, all of our churches, the Homeowners Association, the Thelma Gibson Health Initiative. This was a village in action. And thank you so much for all your support. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. It's always good to have friends who understand and support what we do, so please let it be reflected as you support them, and their election bids. Okay, this is an honor for me, but you talk about vision, tenacity. There are two people that anytime they call you, you respond. One is Dr. Pinckney. When Dr. Pinckney called me and drafted me for this assignment, I said, what? And she said, not what, you got to do this. The other one is Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, a fighter, a Bahamian, and she's the one that's going to make Coconut Grove stand forever. Congresswoman Frederica Wilson.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I just flew in for this event, and Andy, I didn't call you. So, it's a new sheriff in town. You looking at her.
I got it.
I want you to know that this is so historical. This has never happened before. And it's 100 years overdue. Thelma, Freddie, Enid, Dorothy, it's 100 years overdue. And you may think it just took the stroke of a pen and it happened. That's not true. It was hard. We had to I had to convince this community that this was something that should happen. Because the people began to talk about, well, we have Georgia people living in here. We came from South Carolina. You're not just going to take our community and do that with Commissioner Russell. And so we had to have Zoom meetings, conference calls. I had to go to the commission meeting. I went to all the churches in Coconut Grove and spoke. You will meet those ministers today. And I promised them, this is the promise I made. I made a promise that we would not divide this community. That it would be one community, one Coconut Grove, one Little Bahamas of Coconut Grove. That whatever we did, we would make sure that they were involved. The homeowners were pitching a fit. They were saying, how dare you? You don't even live down here. So I said, you know what? And And Commissioner Russell said to me, I've never met an elected official who was willing to spend millions of dollars in a district that wasn't hers. And I said, well, meet me, Frederica Wilson, because I am a Bahamian. Danny Johnson is my cousin from one party. You know that. Atalia Johnson is my cousin, the first speaker, female speaker of the House in the Bahamas. She's from another party, so I have the Republicans and the Democrats in the Bahamas fighting. Every time I go, I say, we're not going to talk politics. We're not going to talk politics. So I want you to know, and I want you to meet today the people who helped make this happen. You heard from the two commissioners. So first, I am going to ask them to join me here. The first two commissioners. Let's give them a big round of applause. And then I know we have Thelma here. We got you.
She's a commissioner too.
We got you. She might as well be.
No, she is.
Oh, yes. Well, she's a congresswoman. How about that? Dr. Freddie Young. Freddie, you want to come up here? Let's give Freddie a big round of applause. Apostle John Chambers. This is one of the churches that I went into. Where's Apostle? Where's the Apostle? Come forward. He's not Bahamian, but he's with us. Come on. Come on, Apostle. We're not going to divide this community. Pastor Lance Bailey. Where's Mr. Bailey? Pastor. Come on. Come on. He's not Bahamian, but he's with us.
Alabama.
That's right. Pastor Nathaniel Robinson. Greater St. Paul. Come on up. Come on. Marlene Barton. And we have Reynold Martin and Miss Owl Porter, who is a descendant of the Starp House. Owl, come forward. Gregory Simpson, who I believe is not here, and Von Carol Kitchens. I have a list. I don't know if everyone.
Father Archer from Christ Episcopal.
Father Archer from Christ Episcopal. Please come forward. Father Taylor. Okay, come forward, please. These are the people who, you know, when you running for office, you go from church to church and you speak. Well, I wasn't running for office. I was running for little Bahamas. And so I went from church to church and spoke, and all the little children came up and they wanted to ask questions, and everybody, when I left, everybody was together, Thelma. They were together. Enid, they were together. Everybody is on the same path, and we are going to make this work. So what I have done is, I have placed all of these people in the congressional record. Enid, you are already in it, because I put you there years ago. Dorothy, you already in it. I put you there years ago. Thelma, you're already in it. I put you there years ago, but I'm going to put you in there again today because you walked with me. You walked with me. Everybody standing up here will be in the congressional record. And this is what it's going to say. You know, these congressional records go on, and whereas, I'm not going through all of that. Okay, I'm going to just tell you a little bit. It says, Madam Speaker Pelosi, please join me in honoring the community leaders of Coconut Grove for their contributions to the homeowners, the churches, the children, the community, and their role in the historic designation of the Little Bahamas of Coconut Grove. Madam Speaker Pelosi, these remarks will be entered into the official congressional record. They will then be permanently placed in the Library of Congress. One of the congressional records. And while I'm up here, this is what each of them will get, and this is being recorded in the congressional record today as we speak. And these are the people who helped make this possible. People normally cut red ribbons. People normally cut red ribbons. Hold that down. And this is a turquoise. They're bringing them. Unroll it. We're going to cut this ribbon today.
Just a second. I got it.
Okay, hold on a second.
Please,
Let me get back.
as congressional records. Why are they not on the list? Who? The minister.
I'll have them. I have a staff here.
Please come forward.
Minister, I'm not sure.
I'll pass mine out.
The names weren't on the list.
Congresswoman.
Come forward, please. Please come forward. Come on, Thelma. Come on.
That's right. That's one of the reasons. Tell me. Still remember what I used to do.
Congresswoman, those scissors aren't going to work. I brought you a pair. This is on behalf of the mayor sent these with his regards. Be very careful. They are sharp.
Okay. On three.
Where's the video? Over here. Okay. You want to get in the middle?
Yeah. I mean,
On three.
we got it.
Two. One.
No. Mr. Russell, hold the scissors with
Oh, no, I'm good. I'm good.
We want
I'm going to have to give her a hug.
1, 2, 3. Thank you. Okay. And now, this one stay. Don't move. Stay right here for a second. Just for a second. The coconut. You got it? I got it. So now it is my honor to present to you the building Frederica Roberts, my grandmother. Frederica Roberts, who is my grandmother from Abaco. Reuben, is that your home too?
That's right around the corner. That's right around the corner. There's one out.
Right around the corner. Frederica Roberts, Bahamian Museum of Arts and Culture, $6 million. This is what you call an earmark, and it's earmarked just for that purpose. And Thelma and Mr. King are going to make sure that it's earmarked just for that purpose. So all of the developers that are running behind us and saying, I can do this, I want some of that money, you can't. This is an earmark for this particular purpose, Commissioner Reyes. Thank you so much. This has been a wonderful, wonderful designation. I plan to fly to Nassau real soon to meet with the Prime Minister to bring him up to date on everything that's happening with this initiative. This is huge. Carnival Cruise Lines can't wait. They are going to set up tours across this community, this Miami-Dade County. And one of the stops on the tour that's already in place will be Little Bahamas. Little Bahamas, where we hope to bring back all of the good things, the conch fritters, the conch salad, the junkanoo arrow, all of the wonderful things that we grew up enjoying. So I say to all of you, this is the beginning of a journey. This is a journey that's long overdue. And we invite you to join us on this journey as we bring to fruition the most wonderful designation this country has ever known. And you all know me. You know the 5,000 role models, and you know I don't play. This is going to be the most wonderful designation that this country has ever known. Little Bahamas of Coconut Grove. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Watch out.
One last bit of ceremonial pomp and circumstance. I bring tidings from Mayor Francis Suarez of the city of Miami, who would like you to know that now that we have Little Bahamas as part of our home, you need a key to get into the house. So we got you the key to the city of Miami to give to the minister, the consul general, and the ambassador. Thank you, sir. Welcome home. All the doors.
All the hearts. That's what's most important. You open in all the hearts. Thank you. You okay?
Let's give them another hand. Thank you. We talk about the designation. Congresswoman appropriately talked about the financial rewards that will come to this community. The people that will be in charge to make sure that happens is the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau, Connie and Bruce, Chairman of the Bureau and Vice President. But before I introduce them, let me introduce you to Mother Sick, Ronnie Cash, and the King of Junkanoo, Willa Francis. Give them a hand. Thank you, Willa. Connie, Bruce, your job is to sell this as another cultural attraction
Thank
to Miami.
you. Thank you, Andy. First, I want to say I just feel honored being here, standing in your presence. We stand on your shoulders, and I want to thank you while I have this opportunity to do it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's talk a little bit about tourism. I'm with the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau, and tourism, as we know in Miami, is coming back pretty strong. This past year, we had 24.2 million visitors in our community. That is up from what we saw before COVID. Who's coming? Domestic visitors. The airport is full. The hotels are full. The restaurants. We talked about the cruise industry is coming back. And also we found that the influx of the tourists coming in are from the Caribbean and Latin America. So why is this important? Little Bahamas is positioned very nicely to be our next tourist big destination. Coconut Grove has always been on the list for visitation, but it's not at the top. The leisure traveler, the conventioner, the culture seeker, they already come here, as we know from those numbers. And it is our intent to make sure more of those travelers come here, and as they do the other cultural neighborhoods. From a tourism perspective, we'll continue to look for ways to encourage our visitors, and now we know that there's one on the horizon, the museum, and that's wonderful for our visitors to come. Congresswoman, I can't thank you enough for leading the efforts to get this done. You are our supporter in tourism. You've been my personal supporter since I've been here, and I appreciate you. I do want to acknowledge our president and CEO is at a conference selling our destination, so he's not here, but our team is here. Petra Brennan, Herlinda Lombardi, board member Wendy Kalargis, and we have honored to have the chairman of our board of directors, Bruce Oros, here. And he's going to say a few words.
Thank you, Connie. And as Connie said, I too am honored to be here amongst your presence. What a great afternoon to celebrate Little Bahamas here. I happen to feel the Bahamas being such a good neighbor, and I've had the great fortune of working with the Bahamas Tourist Board and the Film Board for about 15 years, about 5 years ago. So I have many, many friends and got to see the Bahamas through a very different lens, because I got to go to places that were being unique and special. And I went to about 30 different islands, so I've got some work to do. I got 670 more to go. But, you know, like Ken Russell said, there's nothing like a great day in the Bahamas, enjoying the people, the sunshine, the food, and the experience, and closing the day with a kalik. So with that, I congratulate you all and thank you for everything you've done to bring the Little Bahamas to Miami. What a great feat, and thank you so much, Commissioner Wood.
Thank you very much. Give him another round, please. Thanks, Connie. Now the tree. Pioneers are rare. We're happy to have them at this time. I'm going to ask my good friend, historian, Dr. Jenkins Fields, to come up and give us some reflections. Dr. Fields, please join us.
How exciting this is. How exciting this is. Colortown started here. Is that right, Thelma? She always reminds me that Colortown started here. because it was in the late 1880s that blacks started here. I'm going to read it because I want you to know the points. I want you to hear the points. My technology is failing me right now, so I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way with paper. And so the legacy of West Grove is recorded history. The West Grove is one of the oldest and most fascinating neighborhoods in Miami, with amazing historic sites, notable places, and plenty of present-day culture to offer. The cultural heritage neighborhood, this cultural heritage neighborhood has earned the right of official designation as Little Bahamas in Coconut Grove. And we appreciate and thank all of you who made it happen, especially Frederica Smith Wilson from 17th Street in Overtown. I'm telling it like it is now. All right. 17th and 4th Court. Don't forget that. 17th Street and 4th Court. And so Little Bahamas in Coconut Grove showcases the cultural heritage of mostly black Bahamian immigrants. Now, some people, I'm from Georgia, I'm from Alabama, but before that, where were your people before that? Someplace in the Caribbean, coming from West Africa. So it's just that you don't know whether or not your people were directly from the Bahamas. But someplace they had to come from West Africa to get to Alabama and to get to Georgia and Texas and all the other places. And so I encourage you to do the genealogy and the history of your family so that you will know how we are connected, because we're probably cousins. And so Little Bahamas in Coconut Grove showcases the cultural heritage of mostly black immigrants who helped build Miami. Arriving in the early 1880s, Bahamians lived and worked in this area and were the primary workforce throughout Miami and South Florida for more than 50 years. It cannot be denied. As the city of Miami's primary workforce for more than 50 years, the early influence of the Bahamians is recognized in the first issue of History Miami's journal. Now, you know History Miami now as, well, it's History Miami, but it was the Historical Museum of Southern Florida that was located across from Vizcaya in the Museum of Science years ago. Now it's on Flagler Street. From what they're saying, we don't know where it's going to be in the future, but History Miami's first journal, Coral Gables developer George Merrick recorded his observations in an article titled Pre-Flagler Influences on the Lower Florida East Coast. Black workers who were, again, mostly Bahamians. And according to Merrick, now these are his words, quote, "The Bahamians brought inspiration to the planters who were skeptical of the coral rocky land. Many lives were lost as the Bahamians planted the dynamite needed to create the space to make the streets of Miami. It was Bahamians who put the dynamite in the coral rock so that the streets and sidewalks could be made. Bahamians brought and shared their own trees, vegetables, and fruits, some of which had never been seen in Miami before. The Bahamian skill in masonry building with native coral limestone, rocks, roads, other uses of the coral was remarkable." Again, that's from George Merrick, the developer of Coral Gables. Bahamians used their skills and knowledge in building Miami, Coral Gables, Coconut Grove, Miami, and South Florida. Now, as the next Miami is developing, and we keep hearing about the next Miami, and we're seeing it as it grows up. As the next Miami is developing, descendants of the pioneer Bahamians are resilient. They have saved the past in the present day by restoring and preserving the cemeteries and the Mariah Brown House, and the Lola B. Walker Homeowners Association, which was nominated, Homeowners Association nomination of the McFarland Homestead subdivision, which created a district that was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1994, nearly 30 years ago, and that was led by Leona Cooper. Well, in recent times, the E.W.F. Stirrup House, built in 1897, where we are today, this is truly a landmark and one of the first buildings for blacks that was on the National Register. It's been restored and transformed into a vacation rental. Numerous heritage markers are throughout the area which identify the site. So, Connie, we are ready for tourism. We're ready for it. The Ace Theater, listed now on the National Register, will again provide entertainment and outreach to the diverse community. Folks, the legacy of West Grove, Little Bahamas in Coconut Grove is well documented. Truly, the cultural heritage neighborhood has earned the distinction of the official name. While we celebrate, we must be vigilant and continue all efforts to preserve and protect the past as we move forward to the future. 3 cheers for Little Bahamas in Coconut Grove. Cheers! Hooray! 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 Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fields. Selma Gibson, want to come and say a few words?
Thank you very much.
My support system. Let me say good afternoon to everybody. And let me welcome this crowd here and want to thank the Simpson family, Mr. George Simpson and the Stirrups and all who have invited here this afternoon. I'd like to talk about Coconut Grove and the fact that I was born here 95 years ago, 95 and 8 months. I'd like to acknowledge the clergymen who are present. I tell everybody that whenever I speak before the commission or anybody else, I always remember there's so many of the clergy who came here so long ago and now back, and they're all trying to help this area. When I talk about Coconut Grove, I like to tell you though, it was Kibo. It was called Kibo in the past. And all during my childhood, we were living in Color Town. We had Color Town and White Town. And this house, this property, is where Color Town began and went down on this side all the way to Jefferson. It starts little Color Town of Coral Gables. And we were Color Town for so long. And when I left here in 1944 to go to nursing school, it was Color Town. When I came back, it had changed. And all this business of West Grove and all that, I didn't know about. But when Coconut Grove started, and as you heard from Dr. See, I don't even remember her name as well. And I started to say, that's her mother's child. But because her mother taught me in high school, and she was my Girl Scout leader, and she taught us how to do all those little damn stuff and the dances. But anyway, Kibo, Color Town. And then when I came back, it was West Grove. And I said, I don't know how it changed so much. I didn't acknowledge the commissioners, and I need to thank them for the votes that they gave us to get this change made. But the first church this was called Evangelist Street. It was the rock street that the Bahamians built. The first church was the Baptist Church, Macedonia Baptist Church. It was here on Charles Avenue. Started in a house, a 2-story building on Charles Avenue. And so I always like to say the clergy of Macedonia. St. Paul was the second church started in Coconut Grove, and they were on Charles Avenue in this area, in the 3300 block of Charles Avenue, 2nd. And the third church that was started was Christ Episcopal Church, and it was started in the home of Rebecca and David Clark here on Charles Avenue. And so it was Evangelist Street all those years. And then the Fro family that began to own all the land decided that he would change the name of this street to Charles Avenue. It went from Evangelist Street to Charles Avenue. We had Franklin, Charles, and William. It was named after the sons of the Fro family. And so those street names could never be changed. But this was an only street that was so uneven. And they always said the engineers never got it right. But because the Bahamians came and did this. Now, I want you to know that the first black woman who was able to build a house in Coconut Grove was Mariah Brown. And her house still stands. And they want to make it also historic museum of some kind. And I hope that will happen. But we also have other things that have happened since then, and churches began to grow in the area, and they were able to move out. And a lot of people moved out of the Grove and started going to other areas. And we had white folk living all over on the Florida Avenue and Fro and Oak, all the way down to Elizabeth Street. And in 1955, when everything changed, we had white flight, and they left. And colored folk were able to buy up all that land over there. And wouldn't you believe that now that things have changed again, all of those people want to come back to Coconut Grove, primarily because it's the highest land of all of Dade County, all of the county. We don't have flooding like, not much. We don't have much flooding like they have in other areas. Some areas do still get flooding. But we have been here, and because I have to always say this, and Dr. Young don't like for me to tell it all the time, but I tell it over and over again, that the first person that I heard to say this should be called Little Bahama was Corky Dozier. And there was an officer here earlier, Officer Leonard. I don't know whether he's still here or not. But he said, he called a meeting because Corky had been going back and forth to the Bahamas and talking to the people there about bringing Goombay back to Coconut Grove. So she learned a lot about the Bahamas while she was over there and came back and said this should be called Little Bahamas. But she apparently didn't do anything about it, and I don't take anything from anybody to do anything with. So when they say Thelma Gibson wanted named Little Bahamas, that was not true. It was not I. I was just following directions. And then when Congresswoman Wilson got onto it, she never stopped. As she said earlier, she went to all the churches and talked to the clergy and talked to the people, talked to the commissioner. She had Commissioner Russell under her thumb almost. And he was able to get this legislation passed. And so you have come to a place where I always say I'm one of 11 living children that my mama had. Really one of 14, but 3 had died, and so I'm one of 11. And now I only have 3 brothers still living. And so I'm here, and you see me holding this walk. I have arthritis in the knees and all kind of pain in the back and pain in the neck. And but I decided I would keep going in spite of all of that. And so when you see me with this walker, I tell people I use the walker, but I still like to talk. So, and I'm always on the telephone. I do all my business from the countertop, right there on Franklin Avenue. Now, trust me, all of my little brothers and sisters were born right here on Charles Avenue, 3382 Charles Avenue, a house that we rented from E.W.F. Stern. And my biggest joy was when I had to come up here to pay the rent. You know, it was only $3. Rent was only $3 a week. So you come up here with your little $3 and you go to the office in front And Comita Brown Russell was the secretary at the time, and I was a child coming up here paying the rent. But I got to see Dazzell and Charlotte, and we sit down and have a good time. Or when they were coming to go to school, they were all walking. You know, even the teachers had to walk. Miss Dean and Miss Mazon, who were the third children, who were fourth grade teacher and second grade teacher, walked to Carver. It wasn't Carver then. It was Coconut Grove Elementary for colored. Coconut Grove Elementary for colored. And that's where I started, at Coconut Grove Elementary Stir. It was by the time I graduated. I think the name changed in 1942 after Dr. Carver died. And our principal, Ms. Tucker, was the president, was a friend of Dr. Carver. And so she came up with the idea that we should change the name to George Washington Carver School. And so this is when we became, so I was able to graduate from George Washington Carver in 1944. So it's so good to have all of you here. It's so good to have Dr. Young, who kept saying, it's got to happen, it's got to happen. And I do believe she probably got to Dr. Wilson, Congresswoman Wilson. I think she got, because I haven't heard anything from Corky, but I always hear from Dr. Young. And she said, you're always talking about Corky. And I said, I have to do that because it's true. She was the first person I heard say it. But y'all got together, and I'm just so grateful. Congresswoman, thank you. Commissioner, thank you. The whole commission, for all of the ministers and everybody who began to understand what it is that we were wanted and what we were about. We're now Little Bahamas of Coconut Grove. But I have to tell you that Bernine Barton, who is the founder of the Thelma Gibson Health Initiative, Ms. Barton, why don't you stand up and let them see you? People think that belongs to me. It's not. When they asked me if I could use my name, I said, sure, I'll be glad to let you use my name. I'd never realized it would have come to the point. Just 1 year ago, I had said we would never be $1 million organization. And all of a sudden, there we were, ready to get $2.2 million to build this, and then come up with the $6 million to get the whole thing done. And that's the woman back there. Joe King is this person who's been working with the Congresswoman's office to do this, and I brought her part of our board. But we're so grateful. It's always good to see so many of you here. And former Commissioner Edmondson, I see in the audience, and whoever else that I didn't recognize, any clergy or anybody, I want you to know, and all of you young people who supported us, I'm grateful. To Council General and all of you from the Bahamas, it's just so good to have you here. I've been calling Nassau so much in high school. They would always call us your old Nassau and say you think you're smarter than anybody else. And so we got that. So it's good to be an old Nassau. My family, apart from Harbor Island, so I'm a Browland, and then the other part and down to Lansing Town. And so I used to be all over those islands and was happy to have an opportunity to do that. So I don't know what Dr. Young is trying to say, but she's got something she wants to say.
Thank you. I'm not going to let her throw me under the bus on that. What happened, she's always saying, it's a white man's world. And I'm always saying, you don't have to keep saying that. So then she also say, well, Corky was the first person that said that. And that's great. But you don't have to keep always saying it. So that's all. I have nothing, no negative about my saying that. I was just saying to Mrs. Gibson, you don't have to keep saying it all the time.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you all for being here.
Dr. Pinckney, it's going to be a tough act to follow. Ladies and gents, welcome Dr. Pinckney.
To Commissioner Russell and Reyes, Bruce Aroso and Connie Kennard, my good friend from the Greater Convention and Visitors Bureau, His Excellency Wendell K. Jones, the Bahamas Ambassador to the United States of America, Honorable Frederick Mitchell, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Social Services of the Bahamas, and to my good friend, Frederica Smith Wilson, to Commissioner Edmondson and all the elected officials, all the ministers and everybody who's here. The ground we are standing on is historical grounds, made historical by Ebenezer Woodbury Franklin Stirrup Sr., who was born in Harbor Island, Bahamas in 1873. At the age of 15, he left home to go to Key West. While there, he worked with an uncle who taught him the building trade. He later moved to Cutler, where he worked in pineapple fields. He was often paid in land. This was the beginning of his vast land holdings. In later years, he and his wife would purchase land. In 1897, he built his second house on Evangelist Street in Coconut Grove. Now you heard Ms. Thelma Gibson talk about Evangelist Street, which is now Charles Avenue. And it's the Stirrup House. That's the house you see right there. I want you to know that it was built in 1897. And that is a part of the history. From this base, he continued to work for others during the day and himself at night, clearing land and building homes for Bahamians to live in. He built more than 100 houses for rent or sale and never foreclosed on anyone. He and other Bahamians taught white landowners the necessary skills needed to plant in the extremely difficult soil, to farm and build using coral rock and other valuable skills needed to make the Grove a thriving community. These were skills they brought from the Bahamas, as well as plants that would thrive in South Florida. You know, some of y'all had some cerasee and some aloe and got you well from the cold. At his death in 1957, he had $70,000 in cash in Biscayne Bank. He came to Miami with nothing, but died a millionaire who owned 317 parcels of land. Ebenezer Woodbury Franklin Stirrup Sr. is one example of the contribution of Bahamians to Coconut Grove. So was the Thomas Theodore Anderson family, and that's Thelma Gibson's family. The Cooper family. Anybody from the Cooper family here? Raise your hand or say something. All right. Let them know you're here. The McKenzie family. I saw the filmmaker here, Ron. Where is he? Is he still here? Okay, the Ramsey and other families. I can't call all the names because it would take me too long. Their stories need to be told and shared with young people. We need to know our history and be inspired and motivated by it. Let this be the beginning of what we will learn about the contributions of Bahamians to Coconut Grove, so that this hidden history will be brought to light and given its proper respect. I am so happy. What happened to Frederica? Where's she at? Where is she? What's she doing? Oh, she's still there? Okay. Because I want to say something. I want to thank her. I want her to hear it. You know, when I had good legs and I could go to Tallahassee to get money for the Hampton House, I would have her to come down and speak on my behalf. And, you know, I had a birthday the other day. I was 90 years old. And she sent me some flowers, some beautiful roses, red roses. And I sent her a thank you note, but she said she never did get it. So, Frederica, what? Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, Smith Wilson, she talking to the priest, but not the priest, but to the reverend. But anyway, I want to thank her again in front of all of you. Oh, here she comes. Okay, now I want you to hear what I'm saying. Okay, I was telling them that on my 90th birthday, you sent me some beautiful roses, which I cherish very much. And I sent you a thank you note, but you say you never got it. So I want to say thank you in front of all of these people because I appreciate it. And I also want to thank you for giving leadership for Coconut Grove becoming Little Bahamas, and for all of the money that you're bringing for the museum, because that's going to be the place where we educate this community about the contributions of Bahamians. People do not know, and that's why they don't respect us, because they have not been educated to our contributions. So now, because of what you have done, we are going to be able to educate the community. Our people are going to have respect us, and we are going to respect ourselves, because there are too many of us, you know, we trying to be American and trying to be whatever it is, because we want to assimilate. But we got to be who we is. See, my cousin in Exuma told me, she said, Enid, you don't know who you is. So I'm trying to find out who I am. And so I am very proud to be a part of this and to
do whatever I can to help celebrate. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to help celebrate what you have done. And we're trying to educate the community about what you've done. And this is just the beginning. This is not the whole thing. It's just the beginning, and we're here to do whatever we can to continue the celebration. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much. It is a great pleasure to be here in Coconut Grove and to hear about the history of this place. This is a wonderful day, not only for you here in Little Bahamas, but for the Bahamas generally, for those who live in the 700 islands of the Bahamas. And so it is my great pleasure to be here today and to learn so much about the history of this area. I had a grand uncle who told me that he came here when this place was swampland, and he played a major role in building rails in South Florida. And so I'm aware of some of the history, but I have a deeper appreciation today after listening to you ladies. And I would like to say that all of this ought to be a part of civic education in the Bahamas, so that young Bahamians, wherever they are in the Bahamas, would know of the contributions that Bahamians made to the development of South Florida. Ladies and gentlemen, I can go on and on, but it is my great privilege here this afternoon to introduce one of the leaders of the Bahamas who has taken time from his busy schedule to be here on this auspicious occasion, which is a big deal for the Bahamas. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Public Service superintends the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and of course it is comprises all of the embassies and missions around the world. He is perhaps the best prepared Bahamian for this task, having been in the position. This is now his third non-consecutive term in office as Minister of Foreign Affairs. And he is known in the halls of Parliament in our region and in places throughout the world where the big decisions are made. The name Fred Mitchell is well known. He is steeped in geopolitics and multilateralism, and of course he is the person responsible for developing the foreign policy of the Bahamas. He is always here in Miami, I'm sure, and knows a whole lot, much more than I do, about this area, having the experience that he has gleaned over the years, first as a journalist and as a lawyer, and then of course as a politician, a policymaker in the Bahamas for many years. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to present to you and introduce to you our Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Public Service in the Bahamas, the Honorable Fred Mitchell.
Who's driving a silver Mazda with the name Ruth on the license plate? You're blocking somebody in. Can you please let them out? Thank you. Minister, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Andy, Ambassador, Excellencies all, Commissioner, the Consul General. Ladies and gentlemen, reverend gentlemen and ladies, it's a special privilege and honor to be here this afternoon, and I thank you for the warm welcome. And I thank in particular Congresswoman Frederica Wilson for having made the special effort to ensure that this ceremony and what we are celebrating here today has taken place. It's a special privilege to see you, Mrs. Gibson, again. I remember those days with Levi coming to Miami. He was my godfather, and he always was a special friend, of course, and cousin of Ted. And so we're back again and glad to see you. And thank you for your contribution in making this happen this afternoon. and continue the good work. And you know, I want to say I wish you many, many more. You were raging about 95, and I was at a lady in my constituency who was celebrating her 106th birthday. And I said to her, I wish you many, many more. And she said, no, 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 don't wish me that. But I wish you many, many more. I was a student at a small college in Ohio called Antioch College. And there I read, when I was doing my first degree in English literature, a work called Their Eyes Are Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. And as I read the book, they kept talking about these people named the Saws. And I kept going through the book, and I said, they're talking about people from Nassau. And when you said they called us Nassau, it rang a bell with me. And it put me in the context of where Bahamians fit with the United States of America. W.E.B. Du Bois and his connection to Long Key in the Bahamas. Sidney Poitier, who was born in Miami, just died this year, grew up in part here in Miami. And James Weldon Johnson, who wrote the Negro National Anthem, also here, lived here in Florida. Father Marcus Barry, who taught me the history of the founding of St. Agnes Church in Overtown. And of course, I was saying to the aides as I was coming here that the last time I was actually in this area, but I think I made a mistake, was with Lyndon Pindling when he was Prime Minister, and we came for him to deliver a speech here in this area. But I do remember that once the independence celebrations were held at the church, I think Father Cooper was then the rector. I believe Father Archer is now his successor in the church, so that was actually the last time. But the connections between the Bahamas and the United States are strong, and I keep saying to successive U.S. ambassadors that I can't understand why Bahamians need to have visas to come to the United States. There ought to be a seamless border between us and the United States of America. So, Congresswoman, she's left now. That must be on your agenda, and we'll all be working toward it. How about that? So, Commissioner Russell, I want to thank you especially for your work in making this happen. And congratulations to all of those. I enjoyed listening to the history, and again, it puts me in my proper context and the context of all Bahamians who made a great contribution to making this nation, the United States, the great nation that it is. I also left out Esther Rolle. Do you remember her? She's buried in the Pompano Beach Cemetery. And it's very interesting that she was the only one of, I believe, 11 siblings who was actually born in the United States. All the other siblings were born in Exuma, where their parents came from. So we're all part of one family. And just recently, the Bahamas government made the decision to pay the taxes for a house which is called Bahamas House in New York. Back in 1910, the Bahamians, who most of them from Andros, were dissatisfied with the services being offered by the British Council to Bahamians in New York. So they formed themselves into something called the Bahamas American Association. And they bought a house at 137th Street in Harlem. That house they still own today. But the taxes were owed and about to be taken. So the Bahamas government made the decision to pay the taxes so we could save the house. I want to say similarly that the Bahamas government makes a commitment to support not only that effort, but this effort here in Miami, and to promote the historic associations between our country and the United States and Bahamians who are Americans of Bahamian descent. We pledge to support all of those efforts. On behalf of our Prime Minister, Congresswoman Wilson says she's going to see him soon, and no doubt he will reaffirm the pledge of that support to this community. So it is left only for me to say thank you, Andy, for your work in this as well. Thank you, all of you, for coming out this afternoon and making this possible. We are extremely proud of all that has been done, of our ancestors, and we pledge to support their work going forward. I'm sure that the ancestors are smiling this afternoon. God bless you. God bless the United States of America, and God bless the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Thank you very much, Minister. This concludes our program. Before I end, where's Rosie? Rosie Gomez, National Association for the Bahamas. She was here earlier, she left. Rosie, thank you for all you've done during the hurricane. Thanks for your support. All of you from the Bahamas, Bahamian Americans, we're so grateful for what you continue to do for the Bahamas. We want you to know that the Bahamas, the Bahamian diaspora is alive and well. We're going to continue the tradition that was started many years ago. We walk behind the breadcrumbs. We're going to take it to new heights. Commissioner, we appreciate your support. Bruce, Connie, members of the Convention and Business Bureau, thank you for all you've done. Somebody once said, how do we make this an economic condition? We've got to. Because at the end of the day, Bahamians must continue to do well, politically and economically. This is the beginning, and Minister, I will affirm to you as well as Ambassador, we will continue to fight. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you at our next event. Thank you, Connie. Musician.